Miriam sat at the edge of the riverbank, the slow, steady current pulling her gaze down its dark, glassy surface. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth, sweet wildflowers, and a hint of something metallic, something heavy. It had rained the night before, leaving the world damp and soft. The sky still bruised with clouds, as if it had been holding in a long, deep sigh. She'd been coming to this spot for months now, drawn to the river's quiet pull. There was a comfort in the stillness, in the way the water moved without effort. Miriam felt a kinship with it. Everything else around her had become too fast, too loud, demanding in ways she could no longer meet. But here at the river's edge, time seemed to slow. It matched her pace, and for a while the aching fog in her mind lifted just a little. The depression had crept in gradually, like the river swallowing up small stones in its bed. At first it was just a sense of heaviness, a tiredness that didn't go away after sleep. But then the world around her dulled. Colors lost their brilliance, food lost its taste. Laughter became a distant echo, a sound she could no longer feel in her chest. She felt cut off, adrift in her own mind, unable to explain the deep bone-weary exhaustion that kept her from the life she had once lived so freely. Now as she sat there, she dipped her fingers into the cool water, watching the ripples form and fade, like thoughts slipping through her mind, elusive, disappearing before she could grasp them. The water was cold but not unpleasant. It anchored her in the moment, brought her back from the endless loop of thoughts that buzzed like flies in her head. She took a deep breath, the air filling her lungs slowly, and as she exhaled, she allowed herself to sink deeper into the feeling of stillness. The soft murmur of the water, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, the faint calls of birds hidden in the canopy above, they all blended together, lulling her into a state of quiet ease. Her thoughts drifted back to the life she had before the fog descended, the days when she would wake up with a sense of purpose. There had been laughter, love, and plans for the future. She remembered the taste of strong coffee in the morning, the way it had filled her with warmth, the promise of a new day. She remembered how the sun had felt on her skin, how it had made her feel alive, burning bright against the sky. But those days felt far away now, as if they belonged to someone else. Miriam closed her eyes, letting the memory of sunlight wash over her. And as she did, she noticed something she hadn't before, a warmth spreading slowly through her chest. It was faint, but it was there. It was like the first rays of dawn breaking over the horizon, pushing back the darkness, just enough to remind her that the light still existed, even if she couldn't always see it. As she breathed, she focused on that warmth, letting it grow with each inhale. The river flowed steadily beside her, and she began to imagine herself as part of it. Her thoughts, her worries, her pain, they were like the water, always moving, never still. And just as the river carried away fallen leaves, debris, and broken branches, it could carry away the weight she had been holding onto for so long. With every breath, she imagined the weight lifting, dissolving into the current. Her muscles relaxed, her shoulders softened, and the fog that had clouded her mind for so long began to thin, like mist rising off the surface of the water. And then she heard it, faint at first but growing louder, the sound of a woman's voice. It was her own voice, yet somehow different, stronger, clearer. "You are not alone in this." The words echoed in her mind, gentle but firm, like the rhythm of the river's flow. The voice spoke again, and this time Miriam felt it settle deep inside her, as if it were a truth she had always known but had forgotten. "You are enough just as you are. You have always been enough." A tear slid down her cheek, but it wasn't from sadness. It was a release, a letting go of the shame, the guilt, the fear that had kept her locked in her own mind. She had believed for so long that she had to be something more, stronger, happier, better. But in this moment, at the river's edge, she realized that being here, being herself, was all she ever needed to be. The sun began to peek through the clouds, casting a soft golden light over the water. Miriam opened her eyes, blinking against the brightness. The world around her seemed sharper, more alive. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves shimmering like silver coins. The scent of wildflowers filled the air, sweet and heady. She could feel the coolness of the earth beneath her, the texture of the grass against her skin. Every sense was heightened, every detail vivid and clear. She knew now that the depression wasn't a part of her. It was something that had visited her, but it did not define her. It was like the river, always moving, always changing. And just as the river flowed, so too could she. She could move through this, let the current carry her forward without resistance. As she stood, she felt lighter. The weight in her chest had lifted, replaced by that steady warmth, that soft golden light. She took one last look at the river, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for its quiet presence, its ability to hold her in her darkest moments, and then release her when she was ready. Miriam walked away from the riverbank, her steps slow but sure. She knew the path ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be days when the fog returned, when the weight pressed down on her again. But now she had a place to return to, a place within herself, where she could find peace, even in the midst of the storm. And as she walked, she repeated the words to herself over and over, like a mantra, like the rhythm of the river's flow. I am enough. I have always been enough. Each step took her further from the river's edge, but she carried its stillness with her deep in her heart. The sun shone brighter now, warming her skin, filling her with the promise of a new day. And she knew without a doubt that she was ready for it.